Hey guys, welcome back to Maxplained, Dawn of War Unification. Today I have another faction guide for you, and this time it is for the good old Imperial Guard. The Imperial Guard is my personal vanilla main faction I had, if you can call it main what I play. Anyhow, these are your, lot of men, very, how should I say, expendable units for the most part, but can scale very well in the late game, so you normally need to play a little bit defensively early on and then get more offensive the longer the game goes. They have pretty cool builder and commander units all around, and Unification expands this, of course, with quite a wide array of units. And there's also this now in this version, the special Eagle Regiment unit. So there's a few units locked behind several victory conditions, and a lot of units and upgrades locked behind the Eagle Regiment victory condition, which I will also cover here. So as usual guys, now jump into the save game. And here we are in the save game, and as usual we will quickly talk about resources and unit caps. Resource wise, you have the standard requisition and power requisition via the HQ, via points, 2 upgrades, resources for it, pretty much standard. Power also pretty much standard, also gives you from generators and bigger generators and also upgrades. One thing to note, I do not know the exact numbers, but I think the requisition research for Imperial Guard gives you a little more of a bonus than, let's say, the usual bonus for other factions. So that's kind of to make up for their defensive nature, where they probably have 1 point less or something like that. At least that's what I think is the idea behind it. The resources and unit caps are also special in the way that you start off with 6 squad cap and 4 vehicle cap. The 4 vehicle cap you cannot really use early on, but later on. And yeah, your squad cap you increase by getting infantry commands over here, which is your infantry building, gives you +7. It used to be +6, but it's changed to +7. Basically that you get to the maximum 20 with 2 infantry commands instead of having then built an extra infantry command for the last 2 points. That's that. And the vehicle cap get increased by +6 for your mechanized command. I think the air command, it says by 4 vehicle cap, but then the mass pattern and mass fund you also increase it by +6 each. So basically vehicle cap increases as you progress, or you need to double down if you want to have like a mass of units in tier 2. You might want to get a second mechanized command or air command or something like that to get more vehicle cap in tier 2. But yeah, as you progress normally, you will normally do not need to worry about vehicle cap. Okay, with this out of the way, we can now jump and talk about the buildings. Before I go into the buildings themselves, there are 2 special ways, special things about buildings. The first thing is the so-called tunnel network. Units, infantry units can go into a building, which you see here, is then in the tunnel. And every building that is connected, quote unquote, also has this tunnel network, can get the unit over. If you double click on it, and it will now travel through here. And it doesn't matter how far away it is. You can even use it on this listening post over here and get it over here. So buildings that get tunnel thingies are the listening posts, your infantry command, mechanized command, and your HQ. Air command and others are not connected, you could say. The tunnel network also has one additional benefit, that if builders or infantry units are inside, I do not think it works for your little commander units you have, they get an attack. Basically it shoots out lasguns from these little holes, from these little slits over here. And this is for the listening post. For the infantry command, mechanized command, and the HQ, it gets a bit better. If you have the more units you have inside, the more weapons it fires. It first also fires just the lasguns or lasguns, and then it will also add plasma guns and even at the end heavy bolters. So attacking an enemy HQ of the Imperial Guard early on is not wise. I mean, the infantry command you can kind of take down the mechanized command as well, but an HQ with 6k HP you will not take down easily. So yeah, IG you do not take down like that. You basically take all their points and then starve them to death. You do not make like an HQ snipe normally against them. That's the first thing. And the second thing is the add-ons buildings have. I built a few buildings that have this. There are 3 buildings having this add-on mechanic. It's surprisingly almost the same. You have the infantry command, the mechanized command, and your HQ. It's similar to how Elder also have it with the aspect stones here. It's basically add-ons or quarters. If you build a Kazakin quarters, to build the Kazakins, you get them, and you also get a little flag over here so that even enemies can see, oh, he has Kazakin flags, Kazakin quarter enabled. Similar to Ogrins, you have then this little fist over here. For your mechanized command, it's pretty much the same. He has 4 add-ons or depots you can add on. It's the Sentinel depot over here, your Hellhound depot, your Basilisk depot, and lastly your Lehman Russ depot, also shown by these little flags and enabling different units. In vanilla it's basically 1 unit each. In Unification it's a bit more. And then of course your HQ, they have 2 temples for commanders. You have the Telepathica temple for your Psychos, you have the Ministerium temple for your priest, and lastly the Assassinorum temple for your assassins over here, all shown by these little flags as well. So this is some overarching building stuff. Now we can talk about the buildings themselves. Starting with the HQ. As usual, the HQ gives you first capping units. You get conscripts and guardsmen in this regard. You get a builder unit, which is your Techtrees, and a whole bunch of little command units. That's a trait of the Imperial Guard, to have a lot of command units that can attach to your squads and make them stronger that way. We will talk about units, of course, later on. It also has a long-range scanner, which reveals and detects in a little area. Very useful against in certain matchups, in general really useful and underused, I have to say, in PvP by myself and others as well, to just scan the enemy base. I mean, if you do not have anything else to do, and yeah, scouting is a thing that is not as easy to do in Dawn of War, because you do not have like singular small units you can send over normally and scout. But with this long-range scanner, which hasn't the longest cooldown, you can scan the enemy base to see what tech paths they choose, for example. Very useful if you, for example, go for a Tactica control opener, where you get this enabled with, then you can immediately scan the enemy base to see what tech they choose. Yeah, it can be upgraded, and you see an appearance if it's tier 2 and tier 3. Like if this little box is filled, then it's tier 2, and you have this little tower here, it's tier 3. Tier 4 is the research from your mechanized command. Okay, from your unit production buildings, you have the infantry command, which I told you all about the add-ons right a few moments ago. And yeah, basically building all the various infantry that is not built from your field command is built over here. Then you have a mechanized command, which with a whole lot of different vehicles. Your air command with some aircraft, and then that's tier 2, of course, and then tier 4, you get access first to your mass pattern command, which gives you your relic unit, baneblade or shadow sword, and then your Titan production building is the Mars foundry over here, getting you 2 different knights. The Imperial Knight is your tier 2, tier 1 Titan, and the Dominus pattern Knight is your tier 2 Titan. Then you have a research building, the tactical control, giving you various researches, mostly for your guardsmen, like giving them more morale, but also HP a bit, more HP, more special weapons. And then you have also this bunker, which increases the bunker weapons and stuff. And then on the bottom there is wars, in this case, a lot of different upgrades for your Kazakin, Ogrins, and Assassins. Your economy buildings is of course the plasma generator and the turbo plasma generator. And defense wise, you have a listing post, which is interesting because you can have units inside and a bolter on the top. So you have 2 guns, and then upgrade it again for this twin-linked heavy bolter, I think, on top. Defensive, otherwise you have your heavy bolter turrets, which is this one. It can be upgraded with 4 different weapons in tier 2. This is a Gatling gun, I think it's called the Punisher. Missile Punisher turret. Then you have your, which I like the most, my autocannon, which is the Vanquisher, plasma cannon turret, and then missile is vanilla. The uses are of course linked to the weapons. This is anti-infantry, relatively close range, anti more or less everything, longer range anti-infantry blobs, and long range anti-vehicles. You also have mines, of course, and then you have also an Earthshaker platform here. It is tier 3, 1 per HQ, and you need to manually target it because it's a stationary artillery fire, which is the normal case. You need to manually target it, and you can give it a hotkey and then manually target where you want to aim it. That's at least how I use it. I think this is already all the buildings out of the way, so we can now jump over to the units. And we start off with the commander units, and you can see there's a bunch. Commander units, even your Techtrees has commander armor, which is a builder unit. You can only have 3. They build and repair pretty fast, but I think what I learned the other day, their repair rate doesn't stack. So 1 Techtrees engineer repairs as good as 2. This is mainly because you do not have a lot of them and they are relatively slow. You can also move them around and even fight with them as they have commander armor, so can be relatively useful indeed. Your tier 1 command squad is pretty decent. It's basically the best tier 1 commander vanilla has, because it's multiple dudes basically. It starts off with it's General Rand Stubbs, because I have here War Gear enabled to make sure I can show everything. Commander, pretty good in ranged and melee, so do not underestimate his. The unit card states he's better at range, but he's also really good at melee. I think generally it's pretty good in ranged, I would say. But also it's basically what you need from him, or the unit itself. Van Stubbs, of course, has some upgraded stats and everything, because I got here War Gear. Your commanders you can all get in tier 1 attached: the Commissar, the Priest, and the Psyker. What do they do? The Commissar generally doesn't add much other than a bit of morale, and is generally a good combatant overall, but normally the least played one. Then you have your Psyker over here, which has detection and these abilities over here. The Strip Soul is T1, which is basically a single target damage spell. Then the Lightning Arc is a squad wide damage spell, and then Curse of the Machine Spirit is a vehicle stun. So utility wise it is pretty good. And then you have your Priest. The Priest over here is what you want to get always on the squad, because the Priest gives the same bonuses as the standalone Priest, which is increased movement speed, increased damage, and more HP I think as well. So he is a no-brainer to get. As the Priest bonuses do not stack, you normally get only 1, for obvious reasons. In tier 3 you get Fanaticism, which is basically a invulnerability for 10 seconds I think. This is the point where you can think about more priests, because every priest they do not share a cooldown. Every priest has its own cooldown on the Fanaticism. So having like 4 priests, you can stay invulnerable for 40 seconds. But is this really useful then? I do not know. And then you have here War Gear, or in the campaign you can have, if you have the last War Gear upgraded, you can get this Kazakan bodyguard over here, which is basically just a big old combatant with a hell gun over here and also a power sword, so he can be a very good combatant overall. Normally you are locked at 4 units in with the campaign. Hero War Gear you can get up to 5 units around him. Okay, and now you will also notice that you have these Commissar and Psyker here all by themselves. The Psyker is basically the same in the command squad as here. Can attach and can use his abilities. What is a little different is the Commissar over here. The Commissar grants morale to his squad, which is very useful against with the low morale units of Imperial Guard. But he also increases the HP regeneration of the squad by, I think, flat 3, which is quite a lot. And can use in tier 2 his execute ability, which executes a member in the squad, makes the surrounding units morale immune for quite a while, and increases the damage of specifically las guns, not special weapons, by quite a bit. Tier 1 you have also access to the standard bearer from your barracks, which is standard bearer increases morale I think and speed a bit. The morale recovery lifted initially take hard health is slightly increased, so this is important. This health increase, the morale increase, you could say I get morale immune with the Commissar in tier 2 anyway, but in tier 1 it can be really good. The standard bearer itself is unbreakable, and a good combatant has command armor as well. The lieutenant is not what I want to see. I want to get the field medic, which is also a tier 1 commander, which is basically a medic, gives you HP regeneration and it's a very good combatant. In tier 2 you get 2 more commanders. You get a priest, which I have told you quite a lot about in command squad already. Increases the movement speed, damage and HP of a unit. Basically everything you want. They are limited to 3 however, similar to Psychos and Commissars. The field medic is actually limited to 2. The priest is what enables IG infantry in tier 2 and in tier 3 in particular, because the buffs of him are absolutely amazing. So as soon as you have access to the priests, you want to get them. They can even hold their own in melee themselves. They can be used for enemy plasma generator or LP harassment by themselves. Just move them around just to be a bit of a nuisance. So good players will use these priests quite effectively. And then, new in this version as well, is the lieutenant over here. The lieutenant looks pretty menacing with its weapons, is pretty good. And if it's attached to a squad, I think, decreases damage taken by friendly units around. This is this little red circle. He also reduces the reinforcement time units have around him. And lastly has the focus fire, which is basically a marked target. You mark an enemy squad or unit and it will take additional damage. So very versatile, very expensive though, I think. Quickly checking. Yeah, very expensive and takes a very long time to build. But yeah, if you can get him out and keep him alive and use him wisely, he can be quite the nuisance in tier 2. In tier 3 you get 2 more commanders, the assassins. You have the Vindica assassin over here, which is a ranged assassin. He does not start infiltrated, you need to get research for it. Has super long range. And if you upgrade the assassin scope, it has even longer range. I think it also increases the doubles the range. Also, okay, range and damage. Double damage, double range. But it does not increase the spotting range. So you want to have something else to spot for him. Very good against infantry, as it states here. And then you have another interesting assassin over here, the Venus assassin. The Venus assassin is more melee focused and more utility focused. She starts off with 3 very distinct abilities. She can also detect over here, which states here the abilities are packet stuffing. Give me a second. This is basically you take over an enemy structures. Production shut down and you more or less take over the structure, so the turrets and listening posts will fire at the opponent's side. And it does not work against bigger buildings, of course, like enemy HQ. So basically it can target enemy buildings medium, or you can see it here, high, low or medium. You cannot use it on enemy HQs. Yeah, you can shut down the production. You cannot produce stuff from the enemy buildings, however. Then you have the network map, which is also used against enemy buildings, which basically shows every building on the map, I think. The target buildings also suffers minor damage. Yeah, for a brief period of time you will get line of sight of all buildings that has the enemy, so pretty nice on larger maps and late game scenarios. And lastly, the feedback loop. Overheating and damage to structures. So she's all about taking down enemy structures and be a nuisance. And one of the skull probes gives them also the sabotage ability. One is more utility. I think this one, the skull probe, can use sabotage, and this one is more combat orientated. But you can get also 2 of the guardian skulls and 2 of the skull probes depending on what you need. So very versatile overall. So this is your commander. So we can now jump over to the infantry, which I have neatly aligned over here. Your bread and butter, of course, is your guardsman squad over here, which can be upgraded in tier 2 by quite a bit, so they stay relevant. Even got a new plasma pistol upgrade in this version for your sergeants. The sergeants of the squad also increase the not only the morale but also the HP of the units around. So upgrading the HP of the guardsmen is very important with the upgrades and everything. They start off with very low morale with very low HP, but yeah, as I said, can be geared out quite a lot. In tier 1 you can get grenade launchers, and in tier 2 you can get plasma guns, long-last rifles and heavy stubbers. Heavy stubbers and long-last are both limited to 2. Share a similar range, and if you want to have them like a long-range squad, you normally get heavy stubbers, long-last and a grenade launcher, but you can also get like 5 plasma guns and be absolutely pain against, let's say, space marines and stuff. The heavy stubbers also slow a bit. So yeah, basically your backbone of your army. You always want to have at least 2 or 3 of these guys around. The unit of choice if you want to tier rush and just need some cannon fodder are the conscripts. The conscripts in general are similar, kind of similar to the guardsmen, have a little less HP, a lot less morale, and only can get flamers, which are questionable to say the least. They can be useful, but in a squad of up to 20, having a few flamers will not fire. You normally, if you want to get flamers around at all, you normally want to have a smaller squad size so that the flamers actually can fire. Very useful as they are cheaper, for example, when you want to tier rush, when you basically want to use more either advanced infantry or vehicles, for example, then the conscripts is your unit of choice. In tier 2 you get access to 2 more units. The first one I have set up over here is the heavy weapon team. The heavy weapons team, similar to the turrets, have a lot of options. They start off unpacked as this little singular dude, which has a second dude in his backpack, because he can then in this way his stats are really lackluster. Only has a little last gun and stuff, but if he packs up, gets the dude out of his backpack, they can now fire a heavy bolter. And yeah, I think also have defensive bonuses, cannot push around, cannot tied up in melee and stuff like that. You can get a last cannon, which has really long range. You can get a mortar, which you have to fire manually, as it's for all the stationary artillery pieces. And in tier 3 then you can get a autocannon, so being good against almost everything, and a plasma cannon which has I think a lot longer range than the plasma gun turret over here for anti-infantry support. The second tier 2 unit is the specialist squad, or the special weapons team. Do not forget, heavy weapons team, special weapons team, okay? Difference. These guys start off with melter guns and only take up 1 pop, and so you can use them for, it's meant to be like little covered ops kind of thingy, where you need a small unit size, small cap unit. You can use them. They are really good in vehicles, for example. You can pop them out next to enemy listing posts and buildings to use them, similar like let's say fire dragons from the Elder or something like that. They also get a cool Vox operator over here, which gives them has quite a long firing range, so he can fire quite a lot longer than the specialist team itself. It increases the sight range, increases the range which the float can spot enemies for longer range engagements. Yeah, there you go. And in tier 3 they also have the frag grenade, which is the same grenade as the castle can have. Big disruption, does moderate damage to vehicles and buildings, which is not really true. It does not do a whole lot damage against building. It's mostly used to how should I say, disrupt big infantry positions, which is very useful. There you go, boom. As you can have 3 specialist sword, you can have quite a lot of grenades. In the previous version where there were the grenades in tier 2, there was the prominent strategy to just get them out, throw the grenades, and be a nuisance because of that. Okay, in tier 3 you get your last infantry units out, which is your Kazakin, which is your elite ranged unit, which you always want to get because they are just that awesome. They have long range, big damage against infantry, and I think demons as well. Can use the frag grenade, and can also use grenade launchers and plasma guns. These special weapons for them got actually buffed in this version because previously they were not really used. I think the plasma gun got a little more range, for example, and the grenade launcher in general also more damage. So you can now use the special weapons and does not need to generally keep their base weapon loadout. So they can be, were already pretty useful and are even more versatile now. Then you have the Ogrins, which is like your only melee focused unit apart from the command squad and some commandos. If you take them out, basically your only melee focused infantry. Big dudes with big HP, parry party very well with the priest, of course, which because he increases their HP and movement speed, and also gives them the invulnerability ability, which makes them really quite a nuisance in melee. They can also hold their own in ranged, but mostly against infantry in ranged. Their melee is good against almost everything if they can get in range. And last but not least, we have the Javelin Anti-Tank Armor Kill Team. Talk about a long name. They are good against vehicles, have quite a long range, limited to 2, and can use a little ability which changes the missiles to anti-infantry. So they can... It has quite a long cooldown, so but normally you want to use them long range, let's say killing enemy buildings or vehicles. But as you see here, can also get good against infantry. So this is your infantry out of the way, and now we will talk about the assortment of vehicles over here. We'll start with the little artillery placement over here, which you get in tier 2. If you get the Basilisk depot, you get the Basilisk, which is quite a long range artillery. In tier 3 or 4 it gets the Earthshaker rounds, which gives you a big boom ability, costing quite a lot of resources but taking down a big chunk of anything that's in this field, infantry, vehicles, buildings, all the same. A variant over here which has a shorter range but more boom is the Medusa, good against basically everything. This one is mostly good in disruption and infantry damage. Medusa does good damage against everything. Note that they have different weapons on them. This has a little heavy bolter, this I think is a flamer and a heavy stubber on the side. And the last one is the little griffin over here. I think it does not share a cap with the others. Quickly checking. Yeah, it does not share a cap with the others, so you always can get him. Short range artillery, not the greatest damage overall, but very good utility as it has these smoke shells. The smoke shells will infiltrate allied infantry and also reduces the damage they take in range damage. You see here. Very useful. Vehicles and buildings of course are not smoked. And as this is also artillery but very late in the tech tree, it's actually tier 2 Titan artillery, is the Death Strike missile launcher. Was previously only usable in survival but cannot be used here as well. Long ranged, big disruption, big damage. And yeah. Does it fire over here or is it the range not good? I think it fired. Boom. Radiation effect as you hear. So big radiation, good against infantry, but yeah, does big damage to basically everything. Very late in the tech tree, so normally you would not see it in regular skirmish, but yeah, very good in survival. And if you have very long team games, this can be a way to break open enemy fortified positions. Your more quote-unquote normal vehicles you also have access to is your Chimera, available in tier 2 without a depot. Very versatile, has this multi-laser, has a heavy bolter, has these las cannon, las thingy sponsors on the side, which only get activated if you have units inside. I think it's the same as the las guns from the listing post, that only infantry and Techtrees count to this. And also has 2 weapon upgrades in tier 2. The Chimerax upgrade, which gives him quad-linked autocannons, or the Chimera Don upgrade, which gives him a Conqueror cannon. Big cannot fire aircraft anymore, but can hit very good on the ground. Very expensive. Mostly, I wouldn't build them in tier 3, but if you have some Chimeras over until, like they survived until tier 3, you can give them the upgrades and they can become very potent. Over here is the Sentinel. The Sentinel is your fast-moving walker unit. The specialty about it, it can decap, but has a lower armor rating than the others around here. Got a little changed in from vanilla. It does not have this ominous las cannon thing at the front. It has the multi-laser, which is kind of similar to the Chimera, and has different weapon options. The multi-melter it can get by default, which makes it an anti-vehicle unit. With the tactical control, you can get an autocannon, which is long-ranged anti-everything, very good against enemy fortifications and listing posts and stuff like that. We'll make short work of them. And then you have the las cannon in tier 3, I think, for general anti-vehicle building stuff. This one here, the plasma cannon, we will talk about in a later point. Then in tier 2 also you have access to the Hellhound. The Hellhound is a flamer, inferno cannon kind of unit, gives you a heavy bolter, but good against enemy infantry blobs and buildings in particular. Very good against Necrons, for example. Can get various upgrades over here. It can get a Devil Dog, which replaces the Inferno cannon with a Melter cannon. You can get the Bane Wolf, which replaces the big cannon with a Gem cannon, making it anti-infantry, anti-morale. You can get a Heavy Stub on the top, or get these, I think this changed to multi-melter. So you then have, this is the options you have. I myself like the Heavy Stubber or the Devil Dog or Bane Wolf. Normally I do not get the multi-melter because I think to myself I might as well get it the Devil Dog. It has the ability to let it burn, which makes a little flaming AoE damagey thing. It's locked behind tier 3, however. Later in the tech tree, you know there's no special vehicles in tier 3, but in tier 4. And there, the first one is the Lehman Russ Battle Tank. The Lehman Russ Battle Tank is known to be one of the best tanks we have in the game. Has a lot of weapons, for the most part heavy bolters and a battle cannon on top. But for Imperial Guard it can get a wide array of different weapons, like Annihilator I think gives you autocannons, stuff like that, the Conqueror, the Demolisher gives you a Demolisher cannon, the Eradicator gives you some radiation rounds, the Punisher gives you the Punisher gun, like the Punisher turret, the Huntsman, I think mostly Flamer unit stuff, Exterminator, Executioner gives a lot of plasma guns, and then the late, these are all have all the same requirements, but this one also needs to have a masked pattern command with Vanquisher, because this one has quite a long range, and for the Incinerator you also need a relic because it's Volkite and very good against Titans, for example, as well, very good. Then you have also access through the Destroyer Tank Hunter. If you get a Lehman Russ Depot, the Destroyer Tank Hunter is, as the name states, a tank hunter, big long gun over here, can fire good against vehicles, aircraft and buildings, but can change to Demolisher Cannon, which is more of a siege weapon, and also can get a Heavy Stubber. You see that you can get both. So yeah, the Heavy Stubber is basically no-brainer to get for some close quarter defense to this unit. But the Demolisher Cannon is also really nice. Limited to 1 and requires a critical, as it is more or less another big tank to have access to. This now brings us to the aircraft unit before we go to the bigger units. The aircraft units we have over here. In tier 2 you can have access to the Valkyrie Assault Carrier, which is, yeah, as the name states, the Assault Carrier has a little heavy bolter on the top, at the front. Good against infantry, but not good against buildings or vehicles. Very bad it is, to be honest. But it can land, so you can then get units inside, and then it can take off again and you can transport the units. If this unit gets killed while there are units inside, all units inside will die. Unlike if you like transport units with the Chimera, for example, they will just pop out. In tier 3 you get access to the Vulture gunship, which is an actually fighting aircraft. This one is more of a utility. This one can actually fight, has a little less HP, but has like missiles and big cannons and whatsoever. So this can fight very well. Long range on it as well, relatively long range. Then you have the Marauder Bomber, which has, I think, only heavy bolters or autocannons at the front, I think, yeah, mostly. But what he can use are different shells, you can say. It's the incendiary bombs, the crack bombs, and the smoke canister. The smoke is similar to a smoke grenade, basically reducing damage taken for units, and the crack bombs are good against vehicles and buildings, and the incendiary bombs are good against enemy infantry. Note that you always want to click it on the longest range, because if I click it half range, it always starts dropping bombs from its current position and ends where you click it. So you always want to use the maximum range. Oh, it got stuck on the Vulture gunship, so sometimes it gets stuck on something, but normally it moves the whole way. And you see also that they share a cooldown. Last but not least, we have the Vendetta Heavy Gunship, and it's exactly what it states. It's a heavy gunship, very big amount of weapons, and most importantly the quadruple las cannon it has, so it's very good against enemy buildings and aircraft. The range is also pretty low, pretty good. It is a little slower than the Vulture, I think, yeah, but just a smidgen. And yeah, it's yeah, your tier 4 air superiority unit, if you can get it out by then. Speaking of tier 4, you have two relic units which I have told you about. The first is the Bane Blade over here. Starts off with, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different guns. If you count this little gun, it's even 8. Can get also a heavy stubber on top to make it 9, and can exchange the big cannon over here to a Hellhammer cannon. Long range AoE weapon, causes knockdown, excellent on the move accuracy. And it gives you also the radiation stuff. So it starts off being good against everything, has quite a long range as well, so, and can target count with the Demolisher cannon on top and everything. So very, very useful unit. If you can get it out, it's normally game over by then. Quickly jumping over to the other side, where we have the Shadow Sword, because they are limited, so I got both. We have the Shadow Sword over here, basically a similar to the Baneblade, but not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weapons only, quote unquote. Good against vehicles and buildings, is more of a Titan Hunter unit thingy, so excels at vehicle damage, but can also get a Quake Cannon, which is a big AoE, very long range, but very long reload time thingy, which does a lot of damage against everything that it hits on the ground. Very long cooldown of the weapon. Or can the Twin Vulcan Mega Bolters, which makes this a Stormlord, very good against any infantry, has AoE damage and suppression. And yeah, if you have, for example, facing Tyranids or yeah, I don't know, infantry hordes, this can be very useful. The Quake Cannon, I like the sound of it, so I get it and will shoot it once so you can hear the sound. I really like the big oomph. It has a very long reload time. So in my PvE playthroughs, I normally get for the Quake Cannon because yeah, it's that satisfying to fire. There you hear it, and you see the reload time. It's like 5 or 6 seconds or something. Very, very long reload time, and then again, boom. It's the same weapon as the Emperor's Children Baneblade kind of thing he has. And last but not least, we have the Titans. We have over here the Imperial Knight, which has starts off with this autocannon thingies, I think, missiles on the top and a chainsword. Can get a second chainsword on this side, or can exchange the chainsword for different weapons as well. I need an autocannon that gets replaced. Only the Avenger. Yeah, that's now I remember. Most weapons replace the autocannons on the side, like the big melter cannon, the big las cannon, the Volkite cannon. But the Gatling cannon replaces the sword. So if you want to have an all-ranged Imperial Knight, you want to get this Avenger Gatling cannon. And this Volkite thingy here is locked behind the tier 2 Titan research. So you do not get Volkite right away, but if you are on the tier 2 Titan range, you might as well get the Volkite because it's that good. Over here now you have the Dominus Pattern Knight, which is your tier 2 Titan. Has more weapons on the shoulders and stuff because, yeah, where you can fit more weapons, like here. Here, it has a lot of weapons. Big las pulsar thingy, I think, on the side, and also a chainsword. And replaces the chainswords is for him, so he can... He can get a big ranged combatant as well, depending on what you need. Can get lightning cannon, which is basically, I think, a big lightning cannon. I think is the autocannon, right? And here we see the Volkite, which always is nice. Can it fire on the ground? Oh, okay, it's the missiles actually that can fire on the ground. There you go. Big range now as well. Wow, I never looked at this weapon in detail, but it looks really nice. So this is all stuff you can get in quote-unquote normal gameplay without any victory conditions, but I have told you in the opening of this video that there is a hell of a lot of different units that are locked behind different victory conditions and stuff like that, which we will jump into right now and go into detail with them as well. And here we are in the second save game where we talk about special units. Firstly, we want to talk about all the units and abilities that are not Eagle Regiment, because that's done easier. There's one victory condition which enables your Lord General Castor over here, which is in general a big old combatant on itself, but also has quite a big assortment of different units. Abilities. It can get a refractor field, which gives them him and units around, makes them immune to damage, which is pretty strong. Then it has the rocket run, which I think in Dawn of War 2 it's called Basilisk Creeping Barrage, because it starts in front of him and then moves close to the enemy. So use it with caution if you have units in front of you. He then also can summon a turret, which is a little more expensive than having a turret built, but this turret ignores the limit of 6 turrets. So if you have built 6 turrets already, you can still summon in one with his abilities. The other 2 abilities are getting enabled by the squad members, and he can also summon a veteran Kassakan squad, which I have already summoned over here. Requires a Kassakan quarter to build first, so yeah, you can get an additional Kassakan squad with him. He has 2 units around him, Lord Commissar Byrne, Fearless Commander, which presence requires nearby guardsmen to create a fair Arcadia lives and stuff like that. He can use a show of dominance, which executes not of one of your infantry units, but one of the opponent infantry units, making them a big damage against units, but making I think morale damage quite a lot. Accuse enemy infantry, demoralizes its squad, yeah. And then you have also the Sergeant, what is it called again? Sergeant Merrick, Master Voxcaster. Can detect and stuff like that. Pretty good unit on itself, and can use this issue direct order. All guardsmen must stand up and fight, cannot step back. Restores broken morale of all units on the map. So quite useful if you ask me. As we have talked about the veteran Kazakan, they are here. Basically Kazakan with the Hellguns, also this Kazakan Sergeant over here. The weapons they have are also the normal grenade launchers and plasma guns, but also have access to flamers and melter guns, making them just a smidgen more versatile. In general, they are Kazakan and always worth going for. Then we have the
King's Guard is itching for bloodshed.
The Bourbonian Guard, the French guardsmen over here, enabled by their own victory condition. Bourbonia's finest. They are very versatile with different stuff. They have frag grenades, which is similar to Kazakan, have melter bombs, and smoke grenades. And the smoke grenades, well, there was one thing different, I think, with one of the different grenades. Receive defense against range targets. Disorientates and stun enemy units. I think if you can... Yeah, it gives your units a defense bonus, but also has a stunning effect of enemies, so it's versatile in that. It's not just normal smoke grenades. They can get missile launchers, which is long-ranged anti-vehicle and building stuff, and long last, limited to 2 for anti-infantry. And the standard weapon they have is also pretty nice, I have to say. Last but not least, we have here also the Felinit, the Katerkins, which have a pretty good VO, I have heard. They are basically Kazakins, but different. I have some different weapons. I have these conclusion grenades, which is non-lethal, is basically stunning. Yeah, basically a stun grenade. Can get flamers and melter guns. Normally I give them melter guns, I think, because that's how I like to play them. But this is all the non Eagle Regiment stuff, but there's a hell of a lot of Eagle Regiment stuff. And what is the Eagle Regiment itself? This is this unit over here. The leader of the Eagle Regiment is the Gold Eagle Tank Commander over here. Basically all you see here, and I will show you, will require him on the field. Himself, he needs tier 4, a Lehman Russ depot, and is built from the Mars pattern command from your relic building. He is generally has a Vanquisher cannon, so very long range. He has an aura which increases the fighting capabilities of vehicles and infantry. You see the long is ridiculously long, and he can also call in Valkyrie airstrike and an Earthshaker bombardment. So he has quite a lot of versatility in long range and big damage, of course. There you go, boom, and even more booms. There you go. Basically everything you see now is tier 4, so it's yeah. Also part of the EG regiment is the Cadian Imperial Guard veterans, which is a very elite infantry you can think of, very good at melee also with these bayonets. Can use Volkite incendiary grenades.
Burn them to ashes.
That's why they're called Interior Guards, I guess. And they can use these two ones. These are locked behind the Pathfinder and the Special Voxcaster. Pathfinder, long-range sniper on enemy targets, increases sight and detection range of the squad. And I think the special Voxcaster over here can use this flare grenades, which is not just giving vision, but also calls in an enemy strike. The communication blackout makes the squad invisible, is also by the Voxcaster, I think. The weapons they have access to are plasma guns, Volkite calibers, which is big, and then enforcer grenade launchers. High fuse delayed high explosive projectiles. Make out of it what you want. Okay, big boom at the end. Then you have two commander units in tier 4 as well. You have the Accursed Reaper over here, which is a very fast, very good at ranged unit. Can use concussion grenades to stun, but also timed explosive charges. Yeah, which is basically they take a while before they explode, I think. Yes. And then she can also be made invisible for a short amount of time. How long does it take actually? Okay, there you go. And then you have over here General Stern. Oh, yeah, I forgot. If he makes it invisible, he can also calls down a Valkyrie strike over here, which is actually something I forgot to tell you in the video in the previous save game, that your Lord General can also get your command squad can also call in a strafing run. Okay, General Stern over here can also get a strafing run in. That's because I think of it. He is a bit combatant on himself and has a pretty long text that does not fit on the field, but the big part is inspires all guardsmen of the battlefield with his presence, massively boosting their morale rate and also improving their maximum morale by a significant amount. Yeah, big morale bonus overall, all on the battlefield. You also have access to 2 new aircrafts, also Tier 4 as I said. You have the Avenger Alpha, which is also an aircraft superiority unit, can use an air bomb, which costs some resources but can make a big boom, but can also use hypersonic thrust, which increases the movement speed by quite a lot, you can see over here. Then you have the Peacebreaker gunship, which is basically another Tier 4 gunship with missiles and blast cannons and stuff like that. It can summon in a Marauder, which is just more or less a standard Marauder for you to summon on the field, which is nice. Currently kind of a little stuck over here. Can use also the hypersonic thrust over here and can choose you 2 things. I think I didn't saw that one already. I think I need to add that if I haven't that on the tech tree. Nuclear Tomahawk attack or the crack bombs, but these are not crack bombs, they are flamey crack bombs. And what is this? Ah. Radioactive fire melts down flesh, steel and everything. Okay.
Gold Eagle to scorched earth. Nuclear missiles installed and ready to launch.
Is this Caldaris? This sounds like Caldaris. Wow. This is amazing. And then you have this kind of crack run over here. It does, yeah. Wow, the range. See, it also does a lot of friendly fire.
Hell was just the beginning.
Wow. I need to see if I have this nuclear tomahawk attack on my tech trees. I need to see what its requirements are. Quickly making some notes. Peacebreaker. You see, I learn new stuff. So this is the Eagle Regiment itself, but it has some implications on some different units. Basically all the vehicles you can see over here have some special loadouts with it. You have the Chimera, which can get the Chimera Urban Survival Kit, increasing its HP, but also replaces some weapons. Arms the vehicle with a pintle-mounted heavy stubber and frag missile launcher. In addition, extra weapons also upgraded better armor skirts and stuff like that, and close range detection system. So yeah, urban survivability. We see it will change a bit over here. You see here, but it can still exchange the gun on top over here. Then you have the Sentinel, which can get a plasma cannon as a new weapon. The Hellhound, which also has this Hellhound Urban Survival Kit, similar to the Chimera, arms the vehicle with a incendiary missile launcher. Greatly invulnerability without compressing speed. Costly, yeah, once per vehicle. Increases durability, reduce damage taken. And we have here the plasma cannon. We will shortly see the add-on on the Hellhound here as well, with the increased HP and everything. But yeah, as we move on, we have also the Basilisk, which can get special munitions, cluster munitions. Upgrades the Basilisk, detonates immediately upon impact. So basically cluster bomb shells instead of the normal shells. Armored skirts, increasing health, HP and everything. Increases sight range and greatly enhancing firing potential. I need to make sure that this thing also gives detection. Something I also have not on the tech tree. Camera add-on detection. So there you go. So you see here, really nice, has this missile launcher now on the side and stuff like that. More HP as well. Foreman on the edge of you. And then we have the Griffin over here, giving you also a Griffin Urban Survival Kit. Gives the cluster bombs, missile launcher, equips the flare hunter killer missiles to confuse enemies, and increases sight range, of course. So quickly, if you can see if they look any different. Yeah, okay, wow. This is pretty nice. And these are the, yeah, these are now the missiles over here with flaming damage. Over here, let's see how those look like now. Missile, which is similar to them. Oh no, these are stunning missiles, nice. And here on the Lehman Russ we also get a different loadout with this Lehman Russ Auxiliary Upgrade Kit, which does a whole lot of things. Replaces the standard battle cannon shell with more powerful Devastator rounds. Requires setup. Adds a Storm Bolter, which is mounted coaxially with the main gun. Adds a gun on the top with a heavy stopper and increases armor. So basically making it yeah, very useful in a lot regards, I have to say. You see another heavy bolter just to have it. And last but not least, the Death Strike missile launcher has now an ability, Desperate Measures, which basically, if it wasn't deadly enough, it now gets even more deadly. With all restrictions to nuclear warfare disabled, it will now fire the missile even.
Missile status active.
Give me a second. It will make even a bigger boom now. If it will fire. It fires against enemies. Maybe there's something.
Initiating countdown. Preparing to fire.
There's something off with the target ground ability, I think, but I used it in campaign to great effect, I have to say. Maybe it will fire. Lastly, there are also stuff added to buildings. Most buildings now have this Danger Close barrage, which is basically, you can click it for some resources and it then will be called a airstrike next to the building. The building itself would take significant damage, but this is meant to be a last resort measure if something is close to your buildings. Normally I never ever use this, to be honest. Nothing of the biggest use in general, I would say. But you see it does a lot of damage around. Basically all the buildings have this, apart from listening posts and stuff and tactical control. But the infantry command and everything has this ability over here. Then you have the Earthshaker platform, which now can be armed with Promethean Earthshaker shells. Yeah, our Helldiver allies from Aragon, so gives them basically flaming rounds, but less good against vehicles, of course, but better against infantry and demons. The range is still the same, so I think I cannot use it over here to show, but give me a second, maybe I can use it still. If you get some infantry in range, I can totally use it. Last but not least, you also get one research which is called Total Mobilization, which increases the health of certain commanders, it says, and makes conscripts really, really cheap. You see, only 36 per conscript, so late game thing where you want to spam cannon fodder. And now we will look at this artillery fire over here. So yeah, flaming damage over time. There you go. And this thing does not fire unless there's an... because I have it on... Can you fire on this building? There's something going on with this that's not working for now. But it's okay. Now it fires, but I do not have this ability enabled. But then I think it does a big old damage with the ability enabled for a short amount of time. Okay, this is the special units in skirmish, and Imperial Guard has also, of course, is featured in the campaign. So we have some honor guard units to take over, but also two special campaign only units we will jump into right now. I'm back, not in the campaign, but in the EG regiment, because there are a few things that I forgot. And one, the big thing, how could I forget, is this one here over, the Hell Sword, with one of the best voiceovers from a different game.
What's the status? Coordinates?
And come on, say it.
Mobile artillery. Mobile artillery.
Come on.
What's the hold up? On standby.
Come on.
What's the hold up?
Sometimes says, I'm the Juggernaut!
Mobile artillery.
Which is from the Juggernaut from Imperial Wars 3 and stuff like that, from Command & Conquer. Also, yeah, basically a Baneblade variant with a lot of different weapons on it. Very, very long gun over here. Has spotting devices, it looks like as well. Can become infiltrated, which is absolutely amazing. Infiltrated Baneblade. Who doesn't like that? Has big old weapons, of course, as we kind of know and love from Baneblades. And has 3 very distinct weapon loadouts. It has Earthshaker shells, making it basically a artillery piece. Then you have EMP shells, which disables vehicles for a moment, and then you have radiation shells, which does exactly what you do. Basically replaces the shells it fires with radioactive ammunition. Yeah, there you go. And there are a few things I forgot about, let's say the add-ons and stuff you can have with the E2 regiment, which is first of all the Baneblade gets a new weapon. After you get the Eradicator cannon, you can get Libra's Brial, however you want to call it. Basically gives them a big old las cannon on the side, on the front as well. And for the flyers, we have the Vulture gunship, which can get infiltrated with it. Equips Vulture gunship with enhanced stealth capabilities. Also replaces the autocannon with dual multi-lasers and stuff like that. And frag missiles with extra firepower, so basically enhancing the whole thing. Now we see the laser thingy here, which is kind of looks similar to the laser as Soulstorm First One have activated, available to them. And then we have the Vendetta heavy gunship, which can, I think, get extra missiles. Costly also replaces the single-sided las cannon when advanced multi-laser increases armor and stuff like that. A big damage bonus for it over here. Slight damage increase over here, and now it's also stealth and has some better weapons on it. And yeah, we will quickly look over here to see the new missile loadout. Yeah, very costly and need to be added at any unit on its own. It's not a general upgrade, but yeah, very, very big bonuses from it. Come on. Here you see, doesn't change a whole lot actually, but it has now some missiles as well, you can see. Is it like bottom loaded? Do we see it at the bottom? It looks like it comes from the bottom. Anyways, from this side? I don't know, it gets missiles, okay? So now finally we will go to the campaign units. So now we can go to the Honor Guard campaign units. You have a special Techtrees engines here, which is basically another tech print engines here. I do not think it has any additional benefits, but yeah, it's always nice to have another worker on the field. Commander-wise, you get a regimental commissar and a sanctioned psyker. They have the benefits that they have, I think, better stats, of course, than their general parts, but also can use the abilities like Execute and Lightning Arc and Curse and Machine Spirit directly in Tier 1. Then you have Inquisitor Mordecai Toth over here, which I think a campaign unit like in the original or Dawn of War or Winter Assault, I think there he was playing a role. He has Smite, Weaken Resolve and an Orbital Bombardment, so basically a mixture of a Force Commander and a Librarian. Boost Morale Recovery when attached to squad. The Orbital Bombardment requires you to have the Mars Pattern Command, I think, so these are available right away, and this one is not. There's also one in Survival, an additional commander unit that I will not show you here on screen because it's like the only unit that is in Survival that is not in any other point, which is a kind of a commissar unit, which is also like a named character and stuff like that. As per infantry, quickly finishing up the commanders, is the Ordoxenos Vindicator Assassin, which I like. She is basically buffed up Vindicator Assassin, look at it. Ordoxenos, so basically the, what are they called again? You have the Witch Hunters, you have the Demon Hunters, and this I think called the Alien Hunters, like the, what are they called again? Yeah, basically foreign affairs, stuff like that. It also has the assassination scope for big range and stuff. In terms of infantry, you have a heavy regimental heavies, which is basically heavy weapon teams with bigger stats. Gets the normal weapon upgrades, also locked behind tier 3, these two. Then you have the regimented bodyguards, which are buffed guardsmen, mixed sex guardsmen over here as well. As General Sub's bodyguards, make out of it what you want. All the females over here. Get access to grenade launchers, plasma guns, but then not heavy stoppers and long last guns, but melter guns and flamers. Over here we have also a veteran Kazakin squad, only 4 units, and their commander can get the weapons, grenade launchers, plasma guns, flamer and melter guns, similar to the bodyguards units we have from Lord Casto, I think he was called. Then you have also a sentinel and a hellhound with their standard EG regiment and normal stuff. Units that you can only build in campaign is the Testudo APC, which is their weapon upgrade, but note it has not access to the camera close quarter thingy from the Eagle regiment, which is I think a small oversight over here. And then you have the Doom Hammer over here as an additional Baneblade variant, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weapons on it. Let's go. Big, I think what is it called? Carries a huge mega cannon, a devastating long range weapon that can decimate titans and armored units. Okay, a Titan Hunter, but can change this cannon to a Tremor cannon. Shorter ranged, but much larger AOE. Very long range AOE, blast damage, causes massive knockback, cannot target aircraft. So yeah, basically a kind of artillery unit. There you go. Holy shit, this is a big boom. There you go. Yeah, so this now finishes up all the units Imperial Guard has access to in the different game modes and victory editions and whatnot. So we can now finally jump into the tech tree, where you will also see all the different units, of course, again, but also I have noted everything that is locked behind victory conditions in a special way. So yeah, see you in a second in the document. And here we are now in the tech tree document. Before we go through the tiers and stuff, one quick note. You see everything that is marked in red lightings, red surroundings, is meant that it needs an extra victory conditions, like the war gear for the commander, the abilities from the commanders, the special units and commanders from the victory conditions, and yeah, here's General Castro and stuff like that, and all the Eagle regiment stuff also on here. And one thing you might notice that I've also added here is to have not the relics and critical location requirements on the side, but on the icons itself. So little relic icon, little critical icon, so that I can make these already pretty big tech trees a little more readable. So we do not have as much overlapping and different requirements and stuff like that. It's making it all in all a little bit more concise. I already have done this for all the previous tech trees that you have seen in the guides I have done before. In this version, all have now these relic and critical icons changed. One thing you will also notice that these add-ons require, like, let's say, the tactical control. Once you build it, you do not need the tactical control to get Psycho. This is also true for the priests and these guys, and also for the Kazakins and Okrans, that you do not need to actually to have the requirement for the add-on. Once the add-on is done, you can build a unit no matter what. This is the same here also for these depots. The only exception, I think, is the Lehman Russ, which still requires, yeah, tier 4 and stuff like that to be built. So this is the only exception to this rule. Without going through all the different units again, what are the tier strengths of Imperial Guard? As I said earlier, your tier 1 isn't the strongest. It can be good. You can hold your own, which is the big enabler, of course, is your command squad, because it can harass, it can defend, be a front line, and yeah, it can be more or less a one squad army in itself. Can hold on enemy attacks, can be very useful in many ways. Can harass enemy buildings early on, like plasma generators and stuff like that. But yeah, for tier 1, your only goal normally is to survive and get to tier 2, where you get really enabled. In tier 2, you get, have weapon team and some specialists, all good, but the big kicker in tier 2 is your priests you get access to, and your different vehicles you have access to, maybe also your aircraft depending on the matchup, but in general you want to get a mechanized command. Or what you can also get is upgraded guardsmen, because the big damage upgrades for your guardsmen is in tier 2. So you can go upgrade the guardsmen in Chimeras, for example, in tier 2, which is a very potent way to play, in which you get the tactical control similar to an armory, like when you're halfway On your way to tier 2, you build a tactical control and then get all the upgrades in tier 2 and special weapons and stuff like that. Lieutenant is also for, let's say, later tier 2 parts also a worthwhile investment. Your tier 3 is good and gotten better over time. You get like the Kazakin and Ogrins, which are really nice, but the Vulture gunship is what makes it really good. If you have an air command standing, the Marauder Mobber is okay, got a little buffs here and there as well. But yeah, and also this missile team over here in conjunction with your other infantry and your flyers is what makes the tier 3 good. It's not exceptional. There are other factions, like all the Marine faction get like Terminators and stuff. This is something you do not get here. But yeah, if you have enabled the victory conditions, your tier 3 becomes absolutely phenomenal with the General Castor, the Bourbonian Guard and the Catechins. So you can field actually a more or less infantry only build where you get a hell of a lot of different infantry units around to fight with commanders attached and stuff like that. So you're with the different victory conditions, which are not really balanced for PvP, but if you want to play for fun, sometimes this can be a big old infantry blob you can field. In tier 4, your tier 4 is really, really nice. You get like one of the best tanks in the game, the Lehman Russ. You get the Tank Hunter as well. You get a Baneblade or a Shadow Sword, which are both very excellent relic units of their own right. And you get also the Vendetta Heavy Gunship for some heavy air support. So you have heavy grounds and heavy air units by themselves. I noticed that I forgot to tell you about the ability of the air command, which is a strike. What is it called? Thunderbolt Strike is basically a target ability around it. And yeah, and if you enable the victory conditions, your tier 4 suddenly explodes with all the Eagle Regiment stuff, the different commanders and units you can get access to. Yeah, your tier 4 then suddenly explodes. Your tier 1, tier 2 Titan is also solid. Other factions have more variety in it, but yeah, you have 2 Knights, which are very nice. And of course, do not forget this absolutely amazing artillery you can also field. So, Imperial Guard basically gets online in tier 2. And yeah, it's, how should I say? It's not as clear as for other factions where I say, yeah, in tier 2 you go. I mean, you have this gray zone where you get like tier 1.5 with grenade launchers, which can also work. But yeah, your tier 2, tier 3 is what shines pretty much, I think, the most. But there are different Imperial Guard players around that can tell you better. As this is a vanilla race, there are people around who have played Imperial Guard like their whole life or something like that. Quickly jumping over to units. In the units, we also see now all the abilities and stuff that is enabled by the Hero War Gear. From the commanders, which I told you already. This special stuff you can get from your vehicles over here. The different loadouts and stuff like that. Also here from your flyers. I also, I didn't tell you, but I looked up the big missiles from the Peacebreaker is actually in tier 2 Titan research as well as the Commander Online. And here we also have the different honor guards and bonus units. And here you see the Inquisitor guy, what is it called again? Brome. Over here, which has a global or at least AoE reliability and can attach and stuff like that. He's a big old like commissar. Big commissar basically. And yeah, everything is set and shown already. So we now can jump over to the build orders. And here we are in the build order document. To be honest, there are only like a handful build orders or like 2, maybe 3 build orders that are viable for Imperial Guard with some minor deviations in it. One of which is this one over here, where you get to infantry command your command squad with a priest, and for the most times a psyker generator you will always want to get, and which I like to recommend is also a turret, and either an offensive or defensive turret to give you some place or space to work with. And then you want to get 2 guardsmen or conscripts depending on your playstyle. Normally you want to get guardsmen. You also can get your Techtrees a little earlier or in the middle even, depending on what is your general playstyle. You also always want to add 1 commissar to one of these squads to give you some backbone for one of your squads. Also gives you direct availability to the executability once you reach tier 2. So this is why you get this. You can even add a third guardsman if you really want to. Then I have the heavy tier 1 over here, which is basically the tier 1.5 build where you get grenade launchers and sergeants. At least 3 guardsmen. You might as well get a 4th one depending on the situation. Your command squad is more or less unchanged, but you get the upgrades from the tactical control. You get grenade launchers and sergeants. And I would recommend, once you're already heavily invested in tier 1, might as well get a medic, which HP regeneration should stack with the ones of the commissars, and also the standard bearer over here, which increases your maximum HP of units around as well. So you have then at least 3 guardsmen with 3 different commanders, so you have quite an infantry blob that can work. But yeah, I think the standard one with the quicker tier 2 is a bit better. Then you have the tier 2 rush, which can be very good as well. I noticed that you more or less always want to get a second generator at some point, so might as well imagine a second generator here as well. You have a very fast tier 2. Actually, the replay I want to show you is a tier 2 rush that I do. One of the few builds that I'm pretty familiar with Imperial Guard. I kind of can hold my own with Imperial Guard to a certain extent, but against good players I pretty much fall apart pretty quickly because I haven't played them too much. There's also the tactical control opener, which is very situational. Normally you do not want to go this. This allows you for very quick grenade launchers, very quick upgraded guardsmen. You lack, however, the so important command squad and also the commissar, which is basically your infantry enabler. So this is a little bit dicey. You get now the medic at least in return, so you can get some sustain, but it's generally used to get some quick grenade launchers. Maybe not even get the sergeant as quickly, but the grenade launchers to be a nuisance and go tier 2 this way. Then you have the commander spam, which is absolutely not PvP viable. I tried to play around with it a bit, but I find the idea funny to have like a whole lot of commanders, because these are all commanders you can get in tier 1 and can have like these little units around, and using their abilities and stuff can be quite fun to play. At least I like. Need a lot of generators to get all of these, because they call all cost power. And lastly, a conscript spam is also not really viable. The idea is to use these cheap conscripts with the sergeant and maybe some flamers, and give them additional morale, HP and stuff with the upgrades and the commissars, even the standard bearer here, to make them kind of viable. The thing is, you invest so much into these pretty poor guardsmen that you might as well could have gotten like 3 normal guardsmen and get them grenade launchers and everything, and have like this heavy tier 1 build. So this is more of a fun build as well. I already told you, but yeah, it is that I do a tier 2 rush for the replay I have. It's again against Grindon. When I ask if someone can play, it's always Grindon playing. So as usual, I have played a few games and lost most of them. And yeah, if I get victorious with the tier 2 rush, we will see in a second. And here we are on the replay, where I play Imperial Guard against Grindon's Necron. So one of the few occasions where you can get a tier 2 rush going as a, let's say, normal opener, which is not like super cheesy, is against Necrons, because they're normally not very aggressive in the early game. And yeah, this allows you for a quick tier 2. You will see that I go 2 builders, so you can get the plasma generator and infantry command relatively quickly, and 2 conscripts, because I do not plan on using tier 1 or infantry in general quite a lot, so I get the tier 2 rush going, so I get conscripts. My idea for the tier 2 rush is to get hellhounds, because hellhounds against Necrons is, I don't want to say a no-brainer, but they are very, very good. They have AoE anti-infantry damage. They also deal very high damage against enemy buildings, in particular their generators and turrets and stuff like that. So yeah, quickly getting now conscripts out over here, getting the generator. And now I notice that I should also get a generator. So I could have started the generator already. This is a small mistake on the build order over here, but not a big one. Tier 2, you see, started after minute 1. So this is a very fast tier 2, and it only really works if there's no unit coming your way, because in normal gameplay, enemy harassment squads can be at your base at around minute 2 to 3, depending on how aggressive the opponent is. And yeah, then you would normally have your own infantry or units to fight back. And here I do not have anything apart from 2 conscripts and 2 builders. So not the best defense over here. But you see that everything lines up pretty nicely with building up this point, that you have enough requisition to build this point up. So economy wise, this works out pretty well. I even get the tier 2 a little too, quote unquote, a little too early, that I cannot really make use right away because the map tranquilities end over here. The points are a little far away, but I think that's okay. And still make it work. Get the points outside and everything. Yeah, no harassment, so no fast Necron Lord, no builder scarabs trying to decap, so we're all getting very well in my favor over here. Now getting this point up as well, and you see that my tier 2 is now finished at about 230, but I do not have the resource yet. What is important is that I have 200 power over here, so I can get mechanized command out and also can get the Hellhound depot. You notice that I put my builder over here and get him out on this side so that I can build my mechanized command immediately in my base without needing him to walk all the way back. I built it in this point particular so that I have a faster route to his base. So I didn't want to put it over here because, yeah, exactly this. He will spot it and can kill it. So you want to have it in your base, but not like in the back of your base. You want to have it a little more forward. Getting this worker now over here, so I can fire a little bit back. You notice that I also target fire. You can target fire with these garrison weapons, so I target fire the Necron warriors to make at least some damage over here. Hindsight, I should have just taken him over to build the mechanized command faster, but that's okay. I will take him back at some point. You notice also that I could already use him to build another generator. You see here, Hellhounds cost 150 requisition, 150 power. In the current rate, I can only get 1 Hellhound, but I want to get at least 2 out. Better 3 or 4. Can now even get my point over here. I sacrificed this point over here, which is totally fine. All I want to do is buy some time to get my Hellhound. I even think I forget about getting the Hellhound out immediately, so maybe I waste a few seconds. So like 4 minutes in, I could get my first Hellhound. Okay, the tier 2 rush gives you 4. The first Hellhound started before minute 4. Also put in some units inside here and these listening posts to try to do this in your own gameplay. So it isn't much damage, but it's some damage at least you see over here that will add up over time. Yeah, the first Hellhound I will not use to defend my base because it's all about timing. We see on his side that he just now spotted the mechanized command and is like, oh shit. So you see, maybe even putting it on this side would have maybe been better, but yeah, the first Hellhound is now going to the opponent's base, and you need to micro them more than you normally would think of. I have put all my units inside here so I can make big damage against these. Also letting my second Hellhound stand over here to make damage against these units and then move them also to attack. And you see here, a little micro tip is not just move inside like this. Attack the builder scraps. The AoE damage from the flames will take down the buildings as well, but attacking the scarabs is more important, because if you just attack the turret, I do not think will cause damage to all the builder scarabs around. You want to, yeah, and then you want to, I right click this turret, but you need to right click really hard so that it actually stays on this, because it flamer seems to have a minimum firing or engagement range or something like that. But if you force him to fire, this works. Now you see the base layout, this solar pulse is really nice, so I now need to get these these chunky lads somewhere around this place. All the while I'm repairing my listening post over here, getting one Hellhound over here to yeah, fire on this infantry, which cannot really fight back, and get more and more Hellhounds. He should or could have focused my generators, which is my weak point, but yeah, now you see I can kill this turret, I can kill, yeah, even the first generator is already taking some damage from the AoE, so I now can kill more or less all his generators, and yeah, just need to withstand the first attack over here. Getting even now 1, 2, 3, the fourth one, keeping this one alive by driving around in the enemy base. Scarabs burning to crisp as well, and yeah, shift clicking them is really important, and yeah, the big AoE damage of those, killing all his generators. He built them a little too close, but normally you want to build them close to have some sort of defensive capabilities. Yeah, so The tier 2 rush will be a victory this time. The only way I can actually defeat Necron. So yeah, he's a little smiley face over here. Now I can retake my points, but yeah, there's no way he can win from here. Lol, he says. GG, I wanted to also say GG, and that's it. So again, Max only shows his victories. No, to be honest, the other games I showed wasn't really much to show off. It was more or less stomps of Grindon against me, like the first one on Meeting of Minds. He played Elder against me, killed my command squad multiple times with Mind War, and the one after that we played on Deadly Fun Archaeology, where I tried to get aggressive early on and then got into a base trade scenario, which you normally do not win against Necrons because they can teleport back whenever they like. Okay, with this done, we have now completed the Imperial Guard guide for version 7.3.1. If I forgot anything, if I told you some false information and you know better, please put it in the comments. If you like these kind of videos, please also comment and like and stuff, and consider subscribing. These take quite a lot of work to do, but yeah, I actually like to do them, and they're generally nice, how should I say, welcomed by the community, so this drives me forward to do this. And yeah, if you want to motivate me bringing them down out more consistently, or yeah, basically continuing my work, yeah, a nice comment or two will motivate me quite a lot. Okay, without further ado, guys, as usual, thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye bye.